John here with Adventures in the South, and today we're going to be unboxing, assembling, and reviewing a Harbor Freight Haulmaster 5x10 modular trailer that we bought for our square drop camper build. We selected this trailer after looking at a lot of different options for capacity. It's a 2,000 pound capacity. The size is 5 foot. Most trailers are 4x8. We wanted something a little bit bigger, so this is 5x10. Gives us an additional foot of width and 2 additional feet of length. And a lot of the 4x8s are only about 1,200 pounds roughly capacity. We wanted something a little bit more capacity so we could put more on it with our camper build. Here's a closer look at the boxes, and I did already look inside this box. The rest of them haven't been opened. They're pretty big. I have a shorter bed truck, a 5 foot bed, and these went the length of this one went the length of the bed, this bigger one. And I don't believe I was able to shut the tailgate, but the boxes are so heavy they're not going to come out. But this is what they look like before you open them. And trust me, they are heavy. I'm dreading doing this by myself, but I don't have a lot of help today, so I want to get started. There you can see kind of a description of what all's in the boxes. Packaged pretty well from what I can tell, but we will start opening these and let you see exactly what we're dealing with here. Well, that unboxing went pretty much the way I expected it to. Everything looks like it's there, although I haven't done like a full checklist, checking off to make sure everything's there, but it does look like all the parts are there. Everything is extremely well built, like really, really, really well built. Very heavy duty. I am very, very impressed with the quality of this trailer. I got a great deal. I don't believe anything's going to compare to this trailer for around $900. That's going to be this capacity, this quality, this size, and have the features that this trailer is going to have. The flexibility of this trailer is going to be really great. With it being a unistrut build, I'm going to be able to add stuff onto it, accessories and things onto it that normally I wouldn't be able to do without doing a lot of welding, drilling, cutting. This thing is going to be really awesome there. And even though I haven't put this trailer together yet, I'm very, very happy with what it looks like unboxed. I'm happy with the components and the parts. Everything looks really good quality. Let me show you up close everything that I pulled out of the boxes. Here's a good look at everything that comes with the trailer kit, and this is all the rails, all the components that make up the frame, your side rails there. Really nice finish. I'm really impressed with the quality of this, and the gauge of the metal is really, really good. I can see why this thing weighs 400 plus, almost 500 pounds. It has a lot of beef. All of our brackets, which I left in the plastic, wiring harness, our stands, our tires, our lights, our chains, all of our bolts and our unistrut nuts, and all the other components, our tongue jack, our 2 tires and rims, and then there's our fenders. And I mean, there's not one thing that I unboxed that I was like, oh, I don't like the way this looks. I don't like the quality of it. I don't think there's going to be anything comparable in this price range in the market. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of work putting this together. I've heard other folks say 8 to 10 hours, and I could see that. This is going to be probably for me a 2-day job. I'm probably a little slower than most people, but I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. You can take a close look at the gauge of the metal. Look at the thickness. That's impressive. That is really impressive. And there's your spring brackets, your hangers for your springs. Even all of that looks good. Axle looks really good. The finish on the paint looks really good. Tongue looks great. Pretty happy with that. Happy with the quality of the tires. Even the wiring harness. I mean, this is the wiring harness. Look how heavy the wire is for just light trailer lights. That is impressive. Everything's, it's double insulated. You got your individual wire insulation, and then the wire insulation on the outside, joining them all together. The connectors that are on it. I mean, that's impressive. So I'm excited about building this. Here's a look at the tools that they suggest you have in order to assemble this trailer. And they suggest a torque wrench that has a capacity of 25 foot-pounds, a box cutter, box wrenches 9/16 and 7/16 in sizes, Phillips head and a flathead screwdriver, a rubber mallet, tape measure, an adjustable wrench that is capable of opening up to 1.5 inches, some needle nose pliers, and a ratchet with deep well sockets 13/16, 9/16, and 7/16. Now, I had everything but the clamps that they suggest, and these only open about, I want to say about 8 inches. They suggest 11 toggle clamps that are capable of opening up to 11 inches. I'm going to try to use these. I may have to go pick up a couple more clamps if these won't work, but those only open, I think, about 7 or 8 inches. So I'm hoping those will work. But that's a good look at the tools that you need to assemble this trailer. Pay special attention to the orientation of your rails. It's very important that on the ends here, your holes should be at the very end, and then you have a wiring harness hole there on this piece. This piece here with the wiring harness hole is number 6. It's the front side rail. And then you have another one here that has holes on the end as well, and one in the middle. This is also another one that has the wiring harness go through, and this is number 8. The rest of them are going to be your number 7 rear rail, and that's what these over here are. These are also number 7 rear rail, and then number 5 is your front rails. You're going to have 3 5s and 3 7s, so take the time, make sure that you have these all oriented properly. Pay close attention to the instructions, because this could be a problem if you assemble them incorrectly. You're going to have to take them apart. And note the holes in the end here. There's holes on all the ends. So just make sure you take the time to do that. I have everything laid out just like it is in the diagram in the manual. And then your shackles here, this is how they should be oriented. And they're going to go sit on top of the frame there after you put in your unistrut nuts. The trailer comes with 2 wiring harnesses that are bundled. The first one you open up, it's going to be one long piece, and you'll find you're looking for the one that has the yellow tape on it. It'll have that piece of yellow tape, and that's going to be the one that feeds along the rails number 6 and 8. And I'll show you a little bit closer what those look like, but you're going to have a little bit of leftover harness, and this piece here is also going to be the remaining part that you're not going to use right now. And then this is the other one that you're not using. I believe that's going to be the one that goes on the tongue, because it has the connector, the light connector. So you have to really, the instructions are not the clearest. You kind of have to figure it out. So what you're going to do, and it makes a lot of sense why you lay it out like you do. That front hole over here, this is number 6, the front side rail, number 6. You're going to feed your opposite end that doesn't have the yellow tape and this end, and you're going to have it hanging out about 6 or so inches. I ended up pulling out more because there was just a lot of excess. I got about 8 inches out. You're going to feed the wire all the way down the rail into the second rail, which is number 8, I believe. And there's a hole here in the middle. That's where your yellow tape wire with the brown and white wire is going to go. And then you're going to go all the way down to the end, and you're going to put out the other one that has the brown and white wire through the hole here. And then this part will just stay inside, and you just tuck all your wires inside down the rail. You want to pull that one out about the same 6 or 8 inches. There's more wire on here than what they tell you to pull out. So I guess you could always tuck it in once everything's put together if you don't like how much is hanging out. But that's very important to get that all put in there correctly, because once you put the shackle on, you're not going to be able to change it. So just make sure you have everything laid out properly. The next step now is going to be attaching the spring shackles onto the rails. One thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pretty much put them in the general location where the holes are, but you're going to line up, and you want these as straight as possible with each other. So eyeball them and get them as close as you can, but that little arrow there needs to line up with the joint of the side rails. And so you're going to want one for each one of these hole locations here. So you just put it in and you twist it, turn it just like that. And try to get it as close as you can. You're not going to be perfect with it, but can get it pretty close. And there you go. And now we have all 6 of our, or all 12, I'm sorry, all 12 of our unit strut nuts in place. So we're ready to gather our lock washers, our flat washers, and our bolts. As you can see, I have all of my components here laid out and ready to go. And I'm going to do the, I believe it's the passenger side first, and then we'll do the driver's side, which has the wiring harness in it. Have my torque wrench with a 9/16 deep wall socket and the ratchet ready to go. I'll just hand tighten everything first, and I'll use my ratchet and then go back. Have my torque wrench set to 25 foot-pounds, and that's what you're going to torque all these down to. Here's a closer look at the hardware, and that's going to be parts 51, 52, and 53, the bolt washer and lock washer. And you're going to need a total of 24 of those. So to make it easier, I went ahead and just laid everything out ready to go. So now I can just get started putting everything together. We can put our shackle assembly here, and just want to make sure everything's lined up properly. So just generally get it over your bolts there. You're going to want to leave everything loose until you shift everything around. So you can go ahead and start putting these in. First, you're going to want to put your lock washer on, then your flat washer. Here's a little bit of a tip for you. If you're having trouble getting them to line up, take your flathead screwdriver, go in, and just pull them over until they line up. I would suggest doing that rather than trying to use the bolt, because this works so much better. That way you're not taking the risk of getting your nut to spin and not engaging. And this is working pretty good. So now we're at the point where we're going to tighten this side on both of them, the top ones, and we want to measure and make sure that they're the same length. And actually, before we even start tightening, just take a measurement just to see where they're at.
All right, so I'm going to lock down the inside ones on both. I'm sorry, the outside ones. Inside ones are already locked down. And once I get these tightened, I will double check just to make sure that everything is good. So we're good. I'm going to torque all these down to 25 foot-pounds. May have to put your foot on it to hold it down because it wants to spin. And I definitely would recommend using a torque wrench for this because you're going to want these torqued down to the specifications that they call for. Okay, at this point, we are going to put our stands on. And first thing we need to do is they suggest you raise up the assembled rail and put a block of wood underneath. All right, so now we're just going to flip everything up and stand it up. And these have gotten pretty heavy. Now that you have them all assembled, that's probably a good 70 or 80 pounds at least each, maybe more. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. So we're done with our blocks. Okay, so we're at the point where we're going to assemble our corner bracket with our inner cross member support. These are what are going to hold the whole trailer frame together. So you're going to take one bolt, one washer, and you're going to push it through. These go right here, just like this. You're going to do two this orientation, and you're going to do another one the opposite direction. another bolt, washer, and then another washer and the nut. You're gonna make a total of 4 of these, 2 of them the same direction, and then 2 more mirror to the others. So that's one, and then the other one is going to be opposite of it. So you're going to have it, let's turn it this way. You're going to have this one facing this direction, so it'll be the opposite. So same thing, washer, bolt, washer, nut. One more of those. I'm going to make 2 of each of these, and then we'll be ready to start assembling the end bumpers to the trailer. One thing to note here is the instructions tell you to hand tighten, but because you're using a locking nut, that is impossible to do by hand. So I recommend just tightening these down, and if you do like tighten it all the way, just back off. You want it to be a little bit loose so that you have some slop in it, so when you're fitting everything together, it's not like gives you some room to move stuff around. That top one I'm gonna have to loosen up, but you're not gonna be able to do this by hand as they suggest. But let me back off on this one. Just wanted to note that for you. You want to leave these like that, you know, where there's some slop in them, and you're going to tighten them all the way down once everything is put together. This is what the other side looks like. So they're basically just opposites of each other, and that's ready to go. You can see there's some slop in it. I've gotten the nuts run down. I ran them all the way down and then backed them off a little bit. So I'm going to set these 2 aside, and I'm going to go ahead and finish the other ones. Alright, so now we're ready to assemble everything here on our front bumper. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in 2 of these unistrut nuts in, and these are going to fit. So this rail will fit in here, this one will fit in here, so we're going to flip them sideways. But I want to lock in the nuts close to where they're going to be located, which is going to be about right there for that one, and that one about right there. Together, just like your other pieces did, except for you're going to use this spacer here and a locking washer. So it's all going to go together just like that. And each one of these is going to get one of these spacers. So maybe easier to put everything together ahead of time before you try to thread it through. Now here's the other end. As you can see, there's the holes, and the instructions don't really have a lot of details in there about which way to put where, but I'm assuming that these need to be in the same area as the holes for the lighting on the driver's side. So I'm setting this up as this is going to be the driver's side end. All right, so I got everything ready to mount the front and the rear bumper. I got all of our nuts in place. I measured off of the corner the whole spacing for my bumper to kind of roughly get these in place where they need to be. Everything's fully assembled. And then down on the other end, we got our nuts. And there's a look at our front bumper. And this is in position exactly as it would bolt on. So it's going to be interesting doing this by myself, trying to get everything in place. So I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. So I pre-assembled all of my bolts, and I'm going to set them down here on the floor so that I can grab them quickly and put them into place.
So what we're going to do at this point is we are going to measure from corner to corner. And with it assembled, maybe a little bit easier. And we are getting 137 and just shy of a half. Almost a half. Very close, maybe a 16th short of 137 and a half. Let's hope we get the same exact measurement from this way. And we don't. We're getting, wow, it's almost a half an inch difference. That's quite a bit. I'm just going to lift it up and shift it over. Let's take this measurement again. And to be honest with you, the corner is not a very good place to measure off of. There's really no other way to do it though. Now we're getting 137 and a quarter. And that's good because that split the difference. And let's hope that we're getting that on this corner. If we are, then we're good. And almost, that's almost that. That's close enough in my opinion. I'm going to leave it right where it's at. I'm going to torque all these down. Well, we're finally making some progress, and here we are with our tongue that we're about to assemble. It's 4 bolts you're using here. You're using your 4 3/8" bolts. They're going to go through the sides here, and they'll connect everything, your chains, your coupling, and your tongue frame together. All right, so next up you're going to install this bottom plate for the jack. And the way you're going to do this is you're going to put it on the bottom here, put your bolts through, and actually the driver's side rear one you don't put in right now, just 3 of them. So you got your bolt, your washer, and a nut. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And again, a bolt. On the other side, you're going to leave that back driver's side one off. A washer and a nut. If it'll cooperate. And then one more time in the front. So next step, we are going to mount our jack, and jack's just going to slide down inside just like that. I don't know if it really matters which direction it goes. I guess these holes line up a certain way, so just like that. Our next step here is we need to install our jack foot, and we'll just pop our pin out, and we'll lift up our arm here and just set it underneath the jack. And to make it a little easier, you could jack up, which you're supposed to anyways, your tongue, give it a little bit more space. You're actually going to take a measurement from the front of your trailer here for the height, and you're going to jack your front of your tongue up that same height. Well, that's enough to give us some space. Get our pin in and the retainer on. Alright, and we can continue to jack this up a little more. But
what I want to do here is measure your height. And we're sitting at, it's like 16 and almost 3/4. So that's how high you want your top of your tongue. All right, I got all my rail nuts here, and my unistrut nuts here, and I got my bracket here and my hardware. We got to measure out 23 inches from the end, so roughly about there. I'm going to go ahead and put these in the general location of where they're going, and then I can adjust them however I need to. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get the first bolt in. Not sure how well it's going to work. And I'll start with the bottom one. I think this is probably going to be the easiest way to do this. Got a pocket full of nuts and washers. So we'll get our first one in on this side, and then I'm going to jump over to the other side and do the same thing real quick. Now once I get all these bolts on here, I'm going to put a clamp on this and try to pull it up flat to the frame. Okay, we're very close now, so that I can get my top bolts in. So this is what we got going on. We got our bolts in with our nuts and washers, and we have our clamp holding it up to the bottom of the frame. Now we're not using ones on the front. I don't think we're going to need them as long as there's no gap. I'm going to use a flashlight to check. And this is the other side. I just ran the nuts and down just hand tight. They're not very tight, but I'm going to torque these down before I remove the clamp. But first I got to do some measurements, because you got to measure off of the front of your shackle right here to the center point of your tongue up here, and you're supposed to get the same measurement from both sides. I still have to mount my front brackets to go right there. So you're just going to want to kind of eyeball. These are going to go on the outside like that, and you're going to want to kind of eyeball where you need your bolts. I'm just going to set, or I'm sorry, your nuts. I'm just going to set those two in place where I think I need them. Of course, you can adjust them once you get them in. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and try to get at least a couple of these started. I did a lot of measurements in several different places, even places not specified. I even measured this way. I measured to the center of the tongue. I measured to the center of the coupler. So
I got quite a few measurements and it looks pretty good where it's at. I'll double check everything once I snug everything down good. Okay, I hate to admit this, but I screwed up a little bit here. So I was supposed to put the square washers on all of these and the ones on the side on the top part here. These four and the four on the side. So I'm going to go back one by one and pull each one of these out, just one by one, and put the square washer on it and torque it back. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to use the wrench and get all these squared up. This one here looks pretty good where it's at. And then we got this last one. So I've been squaring these up while working on putting on my washers on the other ones. And like I said, it's kind of a art to it. I don't know if it's an art, but more or less just kind of like a technique to get it to stay put. Our next step in this process is putting all the cross members on. And I want to make sure that my trailer is square. So we are going to go through and double check all of our measurements, including the tongue measurements. I'm going to double check all my cross measurements of the main part of the frame. These are going to be built very similar to the other pieces that we built. You're going to attach them like this, and actually they're going to be universal. There's no right or left hand, because either way you flip them, it's going to be right. These are pretty straightforward. You're just going to take a bolt, you're going to put it like that, put the bolt from the outside in, and another washer, and a locking nut. And this is the smaller bolts. These are 5/16, I believe. I believe they are. I could be wrong on that. Same thing on the other side. Another washer. And just hand tighten them for now. I'm gonna go ahead and like run them down, but leave them loose, just to make things a little bit quicker. And I was wrong on the bolt size. These are actually 1/4-20s. Should have known that. But I'm just gonna run these down snug. Not snug, but all the way down and loose, but not snug. I'd rather do that here than do it on the trailer. There is actually another place where you're going to mount your cross member, and that's right there on the tongue bracket. Not only do you have that one, but you also have these two on each side. So you really only need a total of, it looks like 2 on each side of the outside bracket parts. So I'm going to have one extra one assembled that I don't need. One thing we didn't take into account with this support here, this cross member, is on the ends at the very corner, way over here in this corner, you have the bracket bolt here that needs to be tightened down. And once you install this, the front one and the rear one, the ones that are all the way in the ends, you cannot access the outside bolt. And I think I remember seeing something in the instructions about that. So I'm going to go ahead and torque those down. I'm actually going to go ahead and torque down both of the bolts there with the torque wrench. And they should be torqued down to 10 pounds. This one in the very front, the only way you're going to reach it to tighten it is with the box wrench. on the inside, and it's not easy to get it on there. But we're already at 10 pounds there. And while we're in here, I'm going to go ahead and torque this one as well. Alright, so both of those are torqued 10. I'm going to torque the other side down 10. And then I'm going to put this rail back on. And I'm going to move to the other end and do the same thing. And before I put the rails back on, I'm just going to go ahead and torque all of these down. Because I already have my wrench set up, and it would be just a lot easier to do that. Working time, we got our torque wrench set to 25 foot-pounds, and we have our deep wall socket on. Since we're got to kind of come up and under the trailer, we'll use it instead of the short one. So let me start with the front here. So next up is our axle assembly. First thing we're going to do is just get this plastic and bubble wrap off the end of our axles. Oh, there's our cotter pin, but make sure you don't lose your cotter pin or throw it away. I'm just going to set it right there. Make sure there's nothing else in here. I do notice there's a bad spot in the paint there on the axle. I don't think that'll affect anything. And same thing down here. Just make sure that you don't lose your cotter pin like I nearly did. That nipple's going to go like that. This plate's going to go on the bottom. These are going to go through like this. And your locking nut. Hey, no washers. It doesn't call for any washers. Probably should have brought the ratchet over here with me. And I didn't. Same thing. And this end. Once I get all this together, I'm going to set it up where the trailer cross member will support everything, actually, like this. That's just to hold it in place. And that's pretty much that. You're going to torque those down. I didn't look at the specs, but it's probably, I'm imagining, the same, 20 foot-pounds. I'll double check that. You're going to want to snug them first because we have to check the diagonal measurements. All right, so at this point, I'm gonna pull off my stands on the front, and then I'm gonna lower it. We don't need these anymore. We can recycle all this hardware. Exciting to have it at this point. Now I can lower it onto the wheels and I can move it around in here as needed. I will save this hardware though. I'm gonna save these stands as well. I might can repurpose these for something else. Also want to remove our nuts. Those don't need to stay in there. Pull those tabs up like that and then twist it counterclockwise to get your nuts out.
All right, so next up, we're going to mount our license plate holder with the light. And it's going to mount, you're going to take your wires, run them through like that. It's going to go through the top part. You got your little gasket here on the bottom. And you're going to take your self-tapping screws. There's 2 of them. I think this is number 65, I believe, on the instructions. And you're going to run your wire through the hole. Both of them. And just snug them down. Good. I believe this one's probably already tight enough. Doesn't have to be super tight, because you'll strip it out. Looks pretty good for eyeballing. Doesn't have to be perfect, but good enough. You are going to make a connection right here with this wire. So let's see if we can grab our wires down here. And they're right here. And it's going to be black to brown. Just make sure everything goes in. And then white to white.
Okay, so I got my lights connected, and yes, I am in the dark here in my garage, just so I can see the lights well. And it's not hooked to the hitch, so it's kind of iffy if it'll have a good ground connection, but it doesn't like it matters. There's our front marker light, it's working. Let's check our other one. It looks like it's working. Go to the back here. It looks like both of our tail lights are good, and I can see. Let's check our markers. That's one marker, and it looks like both tail lights are lit up. Yep, license plate light, good. Side marker, good. I definitely would recommend doing this. And then my other light, good. Now, I did notice after I mounted my tail lights that there is some holes there. I didn't like the location, but I didn't realize you could flip them the opposite way. So I didn't have to drill holes, but I did. So definitely test your lights out. And everything seems to be working fine, so I'm going to wrap this up. We are at the point now where we're going to be putting in our caps, and these are your unistrut caps. And you're going to cut these down to the length you need, and pretty straightforward. I've already cut my first piece, and I decided to try to use my miter saw with a very fine tooth like wood saw, and it works. You know, you can use a hacksaw, but this works. It's a little bit faster. I already cut my first one from my back rail, so I need to cut the second one the same length, and I'll just use this scrap piece as a guide to how long to cut it. But I think it's going to be a little easier if you lay them like I'm laying up the bottom flat part down on the bottom, and just going to line it up. Looks good there. And you just cut it. Just hold it in place and cut it. If you have a hacksaw, you can use it, but if you want a nice straight cut, you got a miter box, I'd recommend it. It does leave a little bit of a burr, but you can kind of scrape it off with your fingernail, or if you got a deburring tool. It's not a big deal. And let me show you how these go in. So you just want to get it started in the rail. You can use your hand just to knock it in. Get it started. Just take your rubber mallet and kind of work along. And that's it. And it's all the way in. And you're going to cut your pieces for all the way around in between your openings, and just fill those up just like I did here. Now, another step that you're going to make, and this is the final step, is they give you 6 reflectors. I'm guessing that 2 of them are supposed to go back here in case your lights go out. So you can mount it, and it's kind of fortunate that I mounted my lights the way I did. But they don't give you enough screws for all of them, which is weird. They give you 4 red and 1 yellow. The reds go in the back on the sides. The yellows go all the way in the front on the sides. So you're going to mount those. But I guess I'm going to use these 2. They are double-sided tape, so you can peel the backing off and just position it. This stuff is very sticky. So we have finished our build. We're completely done with the exception of the decking, and we have our trailer hooked up. We're going to do a road test. I did buy this accessory here off of Amazon, which I really like. I'm going to pull that off before we go, but I wanted to show it to you. And I'll put a link in the video description if you're interested in purchasing one, but it makes moving the trailer around really easy. It's a double wheel, so it can handle a lot of weight. It just has a pin you pop out, and you can switch it out with the plate that they give you. That's a good look at the trailer finished. I got all my rail caps in, reflectors on. Everything is done. Need to go back and clean up all the stickers and remove all those, but lights are installed. Everything looks good. We're going to find out how this handles on the road. My trailer build is finally complete. Everything is totally done, including all my wiring, tying everything up, and just all the finishing touches are finished. It took me about 24 hours total from start to finish. I still have the decking to lay across the top of it, and I'm going to make another video showing how to do that. This video is probably going to be way too long to include that in it, so I'll include that in the second part 2 video, which we'll post for you soon, and we'll include a link in the description. I'm very happy with the trailer for what I paid for it, a little over $900. I did get a discount. The trailer lists for about $1,000, I believe. I believe it's $999 plus taxes and all. But I had a coupon, and I had a new Harbor Freight credit card, which I got 0% interest for 12 months. So it was a pretty awesome deal, actually. I'm happy with everything. Everything's very heavy duty. The only thing I didn't like was the instructions could have been a little bit better, especially the diagrams were very small and hard to read. It is very useful to watch the videos that show the assembly as well as read the instructions thoroughly. There was a lot of trial and error, and I kind of learned from assembling it what not to do. It's very important to just pay attention to your hardware, make sure you're using the right stuff. Don't forget to put your square washers where they need to go, and just make sure everything's fitting together properly. It's kind of hard from the diagrams because you can't always see, but if you watch the assembly video, it gives you a lot of detail. And hopefully the video that I have put together showing the assembly of the trailer will help. Our road test is complete. It seemed to pull very well. I didn't have any issues. I'll go back and watch the GoPro video and see how it looked from the camera. But it did seem, to pull very well. No issues. Didn't see any bouncing or any swaying or anything. And I got it up to around 60 miles an hour. So overall, my rating for this product, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It's not perfect. The product itself is really great. I didn't really find any flaws except for I did not like the hardware being all one size. There was applications where you didn't need the bolt to be, however long it is, 1.5 inches roughly, I think, or 2 inches. And you could have used a 1-inch bolt. It made for a lot more work. If you have an impact driver, I would recommend using it. Because that took up a lot of time running all these very long bolts through some of the hardware. It didn't need a very long bolt. Some of the stuff I ran out of flat washers, and I used exactly what they specified, so I didn't like that. And I didn't like the diagrams in the instruction manual. It could have been a lot better. And that's why I wouldn't give it a 10. I'd have to knock off a point for the hardware and the instructions. But the trailer itself, it is exactly what I wanted, exactly what I needed. We'll see what happens over time, how it holds up and how it handles. I think everything went pretty well. I'm glad to be at this point. And I would give this trailer a solid 9 out of 10. If you're looking for something to build your camper on and you want something solid that's going to last a long time, this is the trailer to buy. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button, liking this video, subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We're going to be building this camper, and you're welcome to join us along the journey. It's going to be a good 5 or 6 months. We'll post stages of the build. So if you subscribe and hit that notification bell, you'll get all notifications when we post videos, and we'll try to post as regular as possible. It will take us some time, but we will get it done. Our goal is to have it done by the end of March, and we're in October now, so I think it's very doable. Definitely want to be done by the end of May so we can use it over the summertime. But we're also going to be, once we're complete with this build, we're going to be taking you on our camping trips with it, and you can follow along. Any upgrades we do over time, we'll film and post. We appreciate you watching, and hope you decide to follow us at Adventures in the South. And if you have some time, check out our website, adventuresinthesouth.com. Have a great day and have more fun camping.